Good afternoon. I'm Rosemary Bolton, Mayor of Hertford. Today will be 75 years since the guns fell silent at the end of the war in Europe. In May 1945, after six long years of fighting, the war in Europe came to an end. Millions of people up and down the country greeted the news with bonfires, bunting, parades and parties, and there was singing and dancing in the streets. We reflect on the enormous sacrifice, courage and determination of people from all walks of life who saw us through the dark and terrifying period. We also think of those who continued to fight in Japan until the 14th of August 1945, and those who were held prisoners of war. We will remember the members of the armed forces and merchant navy from many countries who gave their lives or returned home injured in body or mind. The hard-working women and men who operated the factories, mines, shipyards and farms. The ARP wardens, police officers, doctors, nurses, firemen, local defence volunteers, and others who toiled day and night selflessly on the home front during difficult, frightening and uncertain times. Today, we once again face a difficult period, and people have come together in aid of one another. We give thanks to all those who continue to risk their lives to help others. As in 1945, we look ahead to the future in the hope of peace and good health.
Today we will be hearing music and poems in celebration of peace and an end to war in Europe in 1945. Thank you to all those who have contributed to make this commemoration and celebration possible. This is Tribute to Millions, which is being read in villages, towns and cities across the UK. Let us remember those who so selflessly gave their lives at home and abroad, whose sacrifice enables us to enjoy the peace and freedom we have today. Let us remember those who came home wounded, physically and mentally, and the families and friends who cared for them. Let us remember those who returned to restore their relationships and rebuild their working lives after years of dreadful conflict and turmoil. Let us remember the families that lost husbands, sons and sweethearts. Let us remember the servicemen, merchant seamen, miners, brave civilians and others from Commonwealth and Allied countries who fought, suffered and died during several years of war. Let us remember those in reserved occupation and the brave people who kept us safe on the home front. The doctors and nurses who cared for the wounded. The women and men who toiled in the fields. Those who worked in the factories, who all played such a vital role in the war effort at home.
A poem by Peter Whiten, and it's about those unmentioned in dispatches. Some of them never come home to fanfares. They dump their kit bags down at the door, kiss their wives and let their children wrestle them down to the kitchen floor, switch on the wireless, pour out a whiskey, search for the local football score. Some of them skip the quayside welcome, dodge the bunting and cannonade, make their landfall in silent harbours, nod to the coastguards, but evade the searchlight of public scrutiny like those engaged in the smuggling trade. Some of them land at lonely airfields, far removed from the celebration, hang their flying gear in a locker, cadge a lift to the railway station, make for home, and take for granted the short-lived thanks of a grateful nation. Some of them miss the royal salute, the victory parade along the Mall, the fly past, the ships in formation passing the cheering crowds on the harbour wall, and remembered only by friends and relatives. Some of them never come home at all.
My name is Robert Voss, and I am Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant for the County of Hertfordshire. Today, on the 8th of May, we commemorate VE Day 75 years ago, the day on which the Second World War finally came to an end in Europe. And as today we fight a war against an invisible enemy, we remember all those who so bravely gave their lives many years ago to save ours. And we say thank you, and we salute you all.
I am Councillor Norma Simons, Mayor of Bishop's Hertford. Today we mark VE Day at 3 p.m. on the 8th of May 1945. The lights went out and the bombs came down. But every man, woman and child in the country had no thought of quitting the struggle. We stand here today for those who gave so much. We thank you.
I'm Councillor Nina Villa, Mayor of Ware in Hertfordshire. Both as Mayor and as a former Royal Naval Reserve officer with HMS Wildfire in Northwood, it was particularly important to me that we marked the 75th anniversary of VE Day despite the challenges placed in front of us by COVID-19. We must never forget the men and women, civilian and military, whose patriotism, sacrifice and commitment to duty led to the Allied victory in Europe. To those who gave so much, we thank you.
Hello, I'm Rosemary Bolton. I'm Mayor of Hertford. It's an honour for us all to be here to mark 75 years since VE Day. At 3 p.m. on the 8th of May 1945, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister, declared, "The lights went off and the bombs came down. But every man, woman and child in the country had no thought of quitting the struggle." Here we are today, in very different but also challenging times, and still we are not quitting the struggle. It is a privilege for me, for all of us, to be able to acknowledge the struggle and the fight that was given by so many for our country and our freedom. And it is an honour to thank them, to say, we thank you, we salute you. Thank you.